Hey guys, it's Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today I'm going to be making another fun light up card using one of the lights from Pear Press. I'm going to be using something out of the Halo light combo. This is a really cool, economical way to get your lights because not only do you get the Halo light, but you also get 4 of the OneLights. So that's what I'm going to be using today. I'm going to be using one of the OneLights. So this is what one of the OneLights looks like. They look a little bit different than when you get them just in the standard packaging. That's so that they could use the circuit board pieces there. Amanda was awesome and came up with that idea. I've got a battery here. I'm going to pop that in just to show y'all. So we have the plus side facing up. You slide that in and you just press the button. I'm going to cover up the light so it doesn't blind you. But you can see when I press the button, it lights up. So this is going to be super fun. What I'm going to do though, in addition, is I'm going to add that to some new things from Simon Hurley. This is one of his new 3D embossing folders that work perfectly in the new Simon Hurley Scout. So I'm going to be using those today for this. But first, I want to have a colorful background, so I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending. Okay, so I've got my Misty out because it's got one of the waffle flower sticky grids in there, and I'm just going to place my paper right in the middle of that. And I'm using some big brushes and my Simon Hurley ink. I'm only going to use 3 colors to kind of show that you don't need a ton of colors to add some really colorful looks to your paper. Starting off with the yellow, it's always better to go lighter to darker just to be on the safe side so you don't get things in the wrong spot. And you can always go darker, but you can't really go lighter. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of yellow down, not really paying much attention to where I'm putting it. And then I'm gonna come in with some red, and we're gonna do a little blending and create an orange because yellow and red make orange. Okay, and then I'm going to come back in with some blue to go over the top of that. For that one, I'm going to be using Midnight Snack from Simon Hurley and another one of my big brushes. So where it goes over the yellow, it's going to turn a little bit green, and where it goes over the red, it's going to turn a little bit purple. So that is kind of a fun confetti background. Next, I'm going to spritz it with a little bit of water just to give it a little splatter effect, because this is some water reactive ink. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And since we did add some water on there, I am going to just heat that with my heat tool to dry it up a little bit. There we go. Now I need to decide, where do I want to cut this? Because you probably noticed this is a little bit wider than what my embossing folder is, right? So I'm not going to be able to do the whole thing. Plus, this is not going to fit through the Scout. The Scout has a smaller platform. So I'm just going to cut this down. And I can cut it down to, I'm going to go ahead and go with the 3 inches. But I want to kind of keep that big center section there, so I'm going to just trim off a little off at each side and get it down to 3 inches. Okay, and now we're going to put this through our embossing folder. So I've got my little Scout here, and I've got the platform base. And on the instructions here, on all of the platforms, it tells you what you need to do. So on the platform top, let me grab that real quick. On the platform top, it tells you how to do your embossing. So here we have the standard embossing folder, and then we've got the 3D, and this is what I'm using here. It's a 3D, so it says we need to use just the base, the embossing folder with your card inside, and the platform, their adapter plate D. So I've got that out too. I'll take the platform base, put it off to the side, and we're going to go ahead and just run this little guy through just like we would on our big machine. and it's light enough that it keeps moving around on me. Okay, I love this little guy. I think it is super cute, and whenever you're doing a smaller kind of project, this is a perfect addition. So I'm loving that. We move it out of the way. Now we can take a look at our embossed panel. Oh, and I just realized I actually debossed into it. That's okay. I think that's what I'm going to do on this one. We're going to try out the blackout technique on this one before we add our lights. So for that, because I don't want it to move around, I am going to bring out my Misty one more time. And this time, I think I'm going to just use Midnight Snack instead of going black. You can use any darker color. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub that on there over the top. And now the color from all of our candles is standing out. I keep finding some places that I want to be a little bit darker, so I'm just adding more and more ink down. And this is just hitting those raised edges, not the debossed, but just the part that is still up. So it's the flat background that we're hitting here. There we go. I think this is going to make for a really fun background. Next, we're going to start putting on our light. So I've decided I want it to be the one in the center, and I pulled out one of my Pear Blossom Press EZLight templates that I've created. You can get this down below if you're interested. And I made a modification to the one that's for the EZLight because this is basically shaped the same as the EZLight, except it's a little bit longer. So I'm going to use this template for that, and I want the light to go right behind my candle there. Okay, so it's going to go right behind the candle, and then I can have the button here. Of course, we need to have it on the back, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put that into place behind that center candle, and then use my pencil to just draw a dot where those are going to be. Okay, so that is where my light mechanism is going to go. And yeah, that's going to be fine. So now I can adhere this to the back of our paper here, and I'm going to just use some double-sided adhesive for that. Just adding a couple of strips of double-sided tape to the back of the mechanism, actually to the metal piece there. And then I can just burnish that down. Before we actually adhere it, though, we should probably check and make sure that this is what I was thinking of. So I'm going to put it in the place behind it and just do a quick test. And it is lighting up that center candle. Fabulous. Also going to poke a hole through. I'm going to go actually through the middle. Let's go through the bottom of our candle there. So now it's going to make it so that more light can show through. Line it up again just to do a test. And that's nice and bright right behind our candle there. Okay, so burnishing this down. I always burnish down my double-sided tape just to be on the safe side and make sure that it has a chance to adhere really well. And then we can place this on the back of our card here, lining up our light with that top hole. Okay, fabulous. I love that. So what I'm going to do with the sentiment, I'm going to actually have the sentiment go across here, and then I'm going to make a separate tiny button to go where the button is supposed to be. And it's just going to say to push. And that'll give our recipient a chance to know what they're supposed to do with it. Now, the next thing you need to do whenever you're making one of your lights is you need to pop everything up on some foam. Pop it up so that it's all going to be flat on the card. And we've got some fabulous foam that is the perfect size for this. I'm going to use the Pear Blossom Press World's Best Foam Tape. Love this stuff. It's actually got a couple of different things that I love about it. Number one, it is the perfect thickness. It is exactly the right amount for our mechanism there. But that's not actually the best thing about it. The best thing about it is that this stuff is repositionable for 30 minutes. So first, it's the right thickness. Second, it is repositionable, which is the absolute best. But also the release paper comes off super, super easy. So it's got a couple really great things for folks like us that want to do some fabulous crafting, right? And decided I wanted to move that down a little bit. So I'm just going to pull it right off and put my tape back down where I want it. And while I'm thinking about it, I've decided I'm going to put it onto some orange cardstock to kind of make it pop. And that looks about right. I'm probably going to trim it down a little bit on the sides right up to the edge of the blue so that it fits perfect on my card. But I think that's going to look pretty good. So this is going to be raised up, and then we're going to have that nice matting layer, okay? Also decided that I want to do something extra. So Pear Blossom Press has got a stamp and die set that's got all the fun little things. Like we've got our press here or push button that I'm going to be adding, but it's also got a door. So she has some dies that go along with it. One of them creates a door in your cardstock so that the people can open it up and replace the battery if needed. Because, you know, we like to play with things, and yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and make a door in my other cardstock. Now to do that, because this is bigger, I kind of sort of need to get out my bigger die cutting machine. Okay, so I'm going to need to use my bigger Platinum 6 die cutting machine for this because the cardstock is wider, and I want to make sure it's about in the center. So I'm lining up, eyeballing it, lining up my die with where I know that mechanism is and just comparing it on the two sides because I want it to be in the center there and not really with the foam tape. Now if it does go over where the foam tape is, I got a plan for that. It'll be okay. Next I need to tape this down so it does not move. So I'm going to use a little of my best ever craft tape just to hold that in place. And you'll see that everything here is basically the same as our little machine. I've got my magic mat that's going to help me to preserve my plates. And now I can run that through my die cutting machine and cut out that little window. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to take off that rectangle die. Now what's cool is it cuts out a rectangle, but it only cuts out 3 sides. So then we have this last bit that can open as a little doorway. So that's going to be perfect behind our little card. So I want to have a little bit more tape on here. I want to make sure everything is nice and flush. I don't want to have any saggy middles. So I'm putting it over our background, and I am going to basically just put a little bit more tape to the sides. Now again, if I mess up, that's okay because I can remove those. But this is about where I want my tape to be positioned. Okay, let's go ahead and get this put in place. Like I said, the release paper comes off super, super easy. I always have trouble with foam tape. I love my foam. Foam is life, but the release paper on a lot of them is really difficult to pop off. But this one, even with my gel nails, with my dip nails, I can still get that done. So I'm going to go ahead and place this down right into the center there. I think I'm going to line it up with the edge here to make sure it is lined up right, and then I can just trim off the excess. I'm not really worried too much about if it's going to be exactly in the center because I figure I'm going to trim my panel down a little bit anyway. Okay, so let's see how the door did. Okay, so for the door, we do have a little bit extra there, so I'm going to peel this off a little bit. And I think for this part, I'm just going to put some of the release paper right back down in that area right there. Right about there. So it's going to be through that doorway. Actually, lining it up across that doorway actually works better. I'm going to do it right there. Press this back down. And then on the inside, I can trim off any excess that I need to up to where my foam tape is. Fabulous. I love it when a plan comes together. I really do. So now we have our our button in place. We have the tape is covered so it's not going to stick to the door. And we can push the button and there's our light. Fabulous. Now, one other thing that you may not have noticed that I have on my desk is one of these little gems. This is a gem from High Supply, and they look like little tiny candle flames. If you have any gems in your stash that do not have a silver backing, that are clear all the way through, you can use that on your cards, on your light up cards, because it will allow the light to shine through. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue right over my candle here. And then we're going to put that little gem on. Do need to make sure that it is flat side down. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to let that dry. And then when we do, it makes it so that the candle itself is, the candle flame is what's going to light up. Okay, so to get this centered in there, I do need to trim it down to about 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off a little bit of the extra. And now we can put this down onto our card base. Okay, I don't know if you guys caught my mistake or not, but if I want this to go down onto my card base, don't I need a door in my card base too? So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to mark this with pencil so I know right where this needs to go back on. And since this is some repositionable tape, I'm going to take the matting layer off. Now, because I'm bending things, it is going to make my card matting layer, it is going to make that kind of warp a little bit, but it's okay because it isn't ripping anywhere. I did not mean to give you guys a demo of that, but I'm glad that I did. So you can see, no tears anywhere. And now I can draw this on here. And that's where I'm going to position my new door. And I'm going to make sure that I have it with the part that does not cut towards the top like it is on here. So I opened up my card base and now I'm going through here because that's the only way I can get it on one side, right? So now we're going to have that door in our card base too. There we go. Okay, now I think what I'm going to do, I don't really need two doors. I think I'm going to just trim off this one and then I'll line it up on my card base once everything is done. And our mechanism is still in that doorway. I'm gonna just add some gems, some embellishments from Picket Fence Studio because I happen to have some in my stash and they are all birthday-y. Yeah, I'm gonna add some confetti and some hearts and just add that little extra to this card that's already got a little extra. Now this is actually a shaker mix, but I figure this would look great on here as well. And that's why nothing's sticking. There's another clear sequin on there. So that is going to finish up this. This is actually a pretty easy card and using a bunch of stuff I hadn't really thought about adding to a card. So an embossed background, lots of shaker bits. Anyway, this thing is super adorable. And when you push the button, it lights up. I think this would make anybody's happy birthday. Anyway, you guys have a great day and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.